The Lift and Love podcast is rooted in faith, family, and the conviction that loving LGBTQ people is a calling to be embraced, not feared. Produced by the Lift and Love team, we focus on topics relevant to Latter-day Saint LGBTQ individuals and their parents, relatives, friends, and others who are navigating this space with faith. Across episodes, hosts from the Lift and Love team and their guests address current topics, offer practical support, and share experiences related to LGBTQ+ issues. Each conversation is grounded in compassion, honesty, and a commitment to keep families connected to each other and Christ. Learn more and access resources at liftandlove.org.
PBS.org on their website. They actually have, and we might have it linked on the Lift and Love website. I know we were supposed to get that, but they have a gender diverse map across the globe. And so you can go and mouse over all the different cultures that throughout time. And so you can see the different Native American cultures that celebrate various genders. And that would be a fun thing for parents and kids to learn about together, right? And it's like, this isn't just something that happened in the last 5 years because of social media. But look, back in the 1200s, this group did this and that. So you can Google, I think, like gender diverse map, and we'll link it in the show notes.
And I can totally imagine a parent listening to this and saying, but hey, not everything you learn on the internet is true.
Okay, let's talk about, so what we have is a lot of parents who are, their child they've either noticed something, more often the child has told them, listen, I feel like I'm not who we all thought I was. And they're kind of thrust into this world. And right now, communication online, the news, it's really rough for trans kids, for parents. Nobody knows what to do. And it is a little bit deer in the headlights, right? And there's not a lot of great sources for parents. So let's talk about best practices as a parent of a child who you either are suspecting, but more commonly your child is starting to express this difference in gender. Let's just talk about best practices for gender from the medical community and what you see as best practices for parents.
So I think the first thing to emphasize is that every loving parent already knows.
I 100% agree with that.
They already know. There is not a lot of difference between wrestling with that issue and wrestling with any other problem that your child brings to you. What you do as a parent is you listen, you communicate your love, you try to learn. And so in that deer in the headlights moment, I would want to reassure parents that you already know. You already know. Your gut instinct as a parent is usually love and protect. Love and protect. And if in that fearful moment, you just reconnect with that, you're halfway home. And I think the chatter that we're getting from the media is crowding our attention. It's distracting. And if a parent can put that away, treat this like any other problem they would have with their kid, and center themselves in loving and protecting. So that's number one, is that you probably already know. And so don't be afraid. Just follow that loving gut instinct. The other thing I would emphasize is parents are often worried that a loving response means that they are accepting an ideology or believing in love is not attached to an ideology. And we see this in a lot of, families with political disagreements. And you know what? Conservative people love, liberal love is that human core. Parents have been loving and protecting their children before any of these ideologies were created. When you are centering yourself on loving and protecting your child, you could, this could be occurring in, 2000 AD or 2026. That's the same. That parental instinct to love and protect is independent of ideology. And loving your child, loving a child, even if you do not understand what they're saying, even if some part of you doesn't agree with or believe it, loving doesn't mean you agree or endorse it. Love is love. Agreeing and endorsing that, it's a conversation for later, and just put that aside. The conversation is about, how do I keep this connection? How do I make sure that my child feels safe with me? And by safe, I mean that they feel unconditionally enfolded and protected in your loving arms as a parent. That there is nothing about them that would make you say, you're on your own, kid. Every parent, every loving parent already unconditionally, clasps their kids to their chest and would put their body in front of their kid in danger. That's the instinct that you need to sort of kind of call upon. Everything else is distraction. In that deer in the headlights moment, you already know how to love and protect your kid. You've been doing it for years. And the proof that you have done it well is the fact that they're telling you at all. And so one of the things that I recommend is that when a parent gets that disclosure, that they thank, that the first thing that they do is to thank their kid for honoring them.
And if they didn't lead with that, they're still still say it. If that wasn't your first response, it's always a good time to say thank you for trusting me.
Like, oh my gosh, you told me something
that took so much courage
about you. That took a lot of courage, and you honored me with that. There are so many kids who never tell their parents, or who wait many, many, many years. This is just like any other hard conversation with my kid. At the end of the day, I'm here for you. I love you unconditionally. There is nothing you could do to make me love you less. You are a part of me, and I am a part of you.
I love it.
And everything else we can have.
Yeah, it seems so of course, but we have a study that Darice pulled that said 50 to 70% of gender diverse children report lack of family affirmation or support because of their identity.
Yeah.
I mean, so 50 to 70. So the majority
and I think
of these children do not have support. So not only are they getting this onslaught of information and this thing that they understand about themselves, but they have no family to go to, no parent who loves and supports.
I think it's also important to emphasize that doesn't necessarily mean that those kids are being kicked out. That there are often families in which that lack of affirmation is communicated in kind of subtle ways that the parent might think, oh, it's not that bad. But from the child's perspective, when they feel and perceive that withdrawal of the parent's love and protection, it's a deep, deep, deep pain. And so I do have some kind of quick and easy tips that parents can follow. And these were developed by a colleague of mine, Dave Hebner. And they even come with an
Let's
acronym.
Hear it.
So that it was called Lead with Love. And so it's LEAD. The L is let your affection show. Make an effort to and that affection is communicated differently in different families.
That's a good
Some
point.
families are huggers. Some families are not. For some families, affection is communicated by watching the kids' favorite movies with them. Whatever it is that you do in your family to show affection, do it. Make a conscious effort. So because You may not be attending to those details, but if there is a withdrawal
Yep.
of that affection, the kid will feel it and they will notice it and it will hurt. Because after they make that disclosure, the kid is hypersensitive to cues of rejection. And we might think from our adult perspective, don't be so sensitive to rejection. Well, a quirk of the human social brain is that we are born oversensitive to rejection. Social rejection and rejection from a parent, our brains are designed to fear that because of the primacy of social bonding for humans. Humans are just a social species. We can't survive alone. So our brains evolved to treat social rejection, and especially rejection from a caregiver, as a high priority alarm bell of impending danger. That is not something we control. That is how our brains evolved. And so, after such a sensitive moment, a parent can just make sure that whatever it is they normally do, make sure they keep doing it. You know, if it's physical affection, to, a lot of queer and trans kids. I sometimes use queer and trans as the abbreviation for the whole spectrum because, again, it's hard to say, and everybody who falls in the spectrum,
Right.
regardless of how they identify. A lot of kids will say, like, after I told my parents, they don't touch me. They don't hug me. They, like, there's
Wow.
some bit of distance. And the parent may not be consciously doing this. The parent may be scared and just reacting, but you have to keep in mind that for a rejection sensitive kid, and it's not their fault that they're rejection sensitive, it's
Human nature.
it's evolution, human nature, that you've just got to make sure you keep doing whatever it is you used to do. If you are a shoulder squeezer,
Squeeze some
shoulder
shoulders.
squeezing. If you're someone who does some rough housing, do that. If like whatever it is that you normally do, just make sure you keep doing it. Just that routine and familiarity is also so reassuring for kids. So what is really reassuring for kids is to have everything stay the same, to have all of those interactions be just as warm and just as loving and, as they were. So that's the L. Let your affection show. The E is express your own pain and confusion away from your child. You will have pain. You will have anger. You will have whatever feelings, whatever negative feelings you're having, you'll have them. Like, you don't have to deny them. You are entitled to your own pathway through this. But remember that because your kid has a rejection sensitive brain, just make sure that you do that work and express those feelings away from your child. You don't have to pretend to be anything. You're just having a boundary about which things are appropriate to show to your kids and which things aren't. It's not all that different from the boundaries we have about a lot of other things. Some parents may say, well, I don't want to be inauthentic. I'm like, well, do you share all your sexual practices with your child?
I should have
No.
hope not.
So are you being inauthentic? No. You have boundaries. All families have
Right.
boundaries. Boundaries are not about being authentic or inauthentic. Boundaries are understanding that context matters. So you can absolutely express pain, anger, confusion, all those things.
And
of
I
your
have, not
child.
to get us off of L and E, but with that, I think of my trans daughter. She came out 4 years ago. I'm as affirming as I know how to be, and I'm still learning how to be even more so. But I still have these pangs of like, oh, when I pull out a Christmas stocking with her dead name across, personalized, and I allow myself those moments. but she doesn't need to know about it. She doesn't need to see it. It's not serving her. It's my grief and my transitioning of like cone removal or switching cones and things of just like, I remember and I have these pangs, and I don't even call them grief. I like the term I recently learned about having it as like an adjustment period, and they're still adjusting. And again, super affirming and all in. It's a both and. I can both affirm my kid and I can experience pangs of grief being 4 years in and seeing her thrive. But also initially it was a lot. It was a lot to process, and I was feeling all those feels, but I was not saying, look what you're doing to us, or why, and all the things. I wasn't feeling that anyway, but I understand that could feel that way, and coming from all the fear of what your life might look like, all of that. It isn't something I need to subject her to. I can have questions, but it's not, my grief isn't her burden to carry, and she doesn't need to see it when I'm processing it.
I think that was really beautifully stated. And you're right. It's not a matter of loss, it's about adjustment. And I think it's important for families to remember that families are always changing. And I think divorce is a great example. Sure. If your kid said, Mom, every time I look at a picture of us from Christmas 3 years ago and I see the whole family, I feel that you ruined my life, right? Families go through changes, and individuals go through changes. Parents may be very aware of the change of a kid that's coming out, but if a parent can remember, wait a second, am I the same person that I was 10 or 20 years ago?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I was in the process of becoming, and we are all in the process of becoming. Becoming doesn't end. And so you may go through periods where that becoming is front and center, but it never ends. It never ends. Development is lifelong. In the developmental psychology program at the University of Utah, where I work, we study lifespan development. There are faculty that study, couples aging and dealing with, different medical conditions. Development is not about childhood. Development is about human change and adaptation and adjustment over time, and it never
And I'm here to attest, I have learned a lot through this process. I mean, it's been an honor of a lifetime to walk with my trans child through this, and I'm thankful to have been given the chance, because not all parents, especially in the trans community, have been given this chance. And I will do it the best I know how. And I so appreciate you teaching us. So I'm sorry if I got us off the track of the lead with love.
Let's finish lead and then we'll get into loss.
A is really easy. Avoid rejecting behaviors. To just really carefully look at everything you do and remember that rejection isn't just saying, get out of this house. Rejection is sneering. Rejection can be silence. Rejection can be saying things like, you're really going to wear that. Rejection can be very, very subtle. And if you keep in mind that your kid's brain is going to be hypersensitive to those cues, and parents may say, oh my God, that's a lot of work. Do I have to do that all the time? And I would say two things. A, yes. In the same way that don't you want your spouse to not communicate contempt and rejection to you? Yeah. The fact that it's a parent-child relationship, there's a difference between guidance and boundaries and discipline and rejection. They are not the same. There's a difference between saying, I don't really understand this, but I'm learning and I'm with you. There's a difference between saying that and saying that's crazy.
And I hope too that there's also there's a bit of give and take there too, I remember being in Florida with my daughter when she had first come out. She hadn't really socially transitioned much at all. And she needed to use the restroom. And there was this conversation of like, I don't think you should go into the women's restroom. I think that it's Florida, this could get people upset. Let's look for a gender neutral bathroom. And I remember that upsetting her because it felt like rejection. And for me, I felt like it was protection. And I thought it was a good conversation. I don't know if I had to do it over again, how I would do it differently, but it was this.
Well, a part of one of those things is to sort of say, I want to be really clear about my
Good
motives
point.
here.
Yes.
I don't want to be misunderstood. And so I might disagree with you about this, and it's not because I don't believe you. It's because of something out there. But I really want to make sure that you do not misunderstand.
I should have done it differently then. You're right. Do over.
Everyone is learning. Everyone is learning every single second of every day. And sometimes the only way to learn something is to mess it up a couple of times. And so I would hope that every family would give everyone in the family during this transition a lot of grace to say, we're all going to step in it. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to say things that we wish we hadn't said. Let us all during this time give one another the grace to apologize sincerely and to keep trying. And we never get it right. We're doing this adjustment together. We're growing and learning together. And so each of us is going to make mistakes. And as long as we all trust that our intentions are good, then we can recover and we can, repair.
Good point.
The last letter is D. This is my favorite. Do good before you feel good. So that even if you are ambivalent, even if some part of you is just not there, what's your goal as a parent? Love and protect. Love and protect. So whatever ambivalence you have, you are entitled to it. But once you know that your job as a parent is to love and protect and communicate that unconditional belonging, just focus on that. There's time for everything else, but don't make the kid wait until you are resolved for your love and affection. Give that right away. And you can resolve, the rest of it. It's very similar to the express your own pain away from your child. Focus on what is my job as a parent. It's no different for this issue than it would be for anything else. Love and protect, love and protect, love and protect. Everything else, there's time.
We hope you've enjoyed part 2 of this discussion with Dr. Lisa Diamond. You'll find the final part of this episode, part 3, coming soon to the Lift+Love YouTube channel or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Thank you for joining us. If you like what we share, subscribe to the Lift+Love podcast. And if you have a minute, leave us a 5-star rating so other families like yours can find us. When your child comes out, you need to find support where you feel safe and understood. This is why we created the Lift+Love community, a place where families can connect, learn, and grow in a private setting. If you feel like you need more information, support, or resources, check out liftandlove.org and Lift+Love.org on Instagram and Facebook. But most importantly, remember, you are not alone in this journey. We are building a community of thriving, faithful LGBTQ individuals and their families who are here to lift and love you.